Welcome to the Dirt World Podcast. I'm Jason Richmond, a fourth-generation road builder that started on a shovel and now serves as the Chief Operating Officer at BuildWit. This is the Ariat Dirt World Summit Series, where we will dig into the construction world, exploring the challenges, successes, and strategies that shape exceptional leadership and builds a thriving workforce in the dirt world. Join us as we sit down with some of the brightest minds and trailblazers in the construction industry. Our guests are leaders who have navigated the trenches, built businesses, cultivated strong teams, and fostered innovation to build the infrastructure that shapes our world. From technology, equipment, suppliers, and contractors, their experiences and insights will inspire and empower professionals at every level. I'm excited to introduce our guest today, Cory Birch, Marketing GM at Mustang Cat. With its headquarters in Houston, Texas, Mustang Cat is a privately held cat dealership which has been in the forefront of construction and power systems equipment for 70 years. Cory brings energy, enthusiasm, and innovative strategies to connect with customers. With over 2 decades of experience in IT, marketing, and sales, Cory has continually pushed the boundaries of what's possible, helping catapult Mustang Cat as an industry leader. Cory, welcome to the Dirt World Podcast.
Man, thanks, Jason. What an opportunity to share some time with you. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely, man. Thanks. So obviously you're in Houston.
Yes, sir. That's correct. 35 counties, Mustang's territory of the 35 counties right around the greater Houston area.
Love it. What's the temperature been like lately?
You don't want to know. I'm pretty sure the pools are warmer than the bath water that I'm even comfortable with. It's bad.
Wow. Well, thoughts are with all the field people and the crews that are out there bearing this heat, and hopefully everybody's doing everything they can to stay cool, stay hydrated, and taking care of all of their field people.
Absolutely. It's, I know we'll talk more about it, but having a safe work environment's always top of mind in general. And then when you put something like this heat that's out there, it really is a compounding problem because it's easy to be thinking more about the heat rather than being safe. And obviously we want to keep them hydrated. So definitely there's a lot going on and thoughts are out there with them for sure.
Absolutely. Well, for this summit series, it's just going to be a conversation, going to cruise through. I want to know a little bit more about you and your background. I want to understand your journey. We'll talk a little bit about Mustang Cat, ask some questions about the business. We'll get into leadership and workforce development, because ultimately that's what the Ariat Dirt World Summit is all about. And so, with that being said, just give me your story. What's your background? How'd you get into the industry?
Yeah, so interestingly enough, grew up in Midwest Illinois in a really small farm community. And so I think that really is what catapulted the love for machines and just moving dirt. I mean, what young boy doesn't like just playing in the dirt and moving big amounts of dirt, right? So I actually initiated my progression into this industry at Caterpillar Corporate in computer science, and understood how we can impact all of our customers and how we make machines and help them make money, right? So it really started there. And then I was able to go out and work with the dealerships and have much more involvement with the customers, because that's really where it's at. It's the customers. And then even further, to be able to engage with the operators and the technicians and the people who really keep the machines running. They're the ones that are really moving the dirt. And they all have such wonderful stories. And man, it's an industry that's so fun. It's kind of like a fraternity once you get into it, because everybody shares a lot of the same good and bad and pros and cons. It's a lot of fun, a lot of consistent messages, and it really is interesting. And there's a lot of challenges every day that we love to work with them on.
Yeah. For those of us that follow BuildWit and everything that we talk about, that term dirt world is utilized a lot. And I find myself having to explain it quite a bit. It's first thing you think of is dirt, but really what that is all things infrastructure construction. And so from sanitary storm and water to paving roads and bridges to, moving dirt to, power and energy and, everything in between. It's this cross section of building America's infrastructure is where that lies. And, I bring that up because as I think about, Mustang Cat, I can only imagine that you're servicing a ton of segments and sectors across all of those.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a great point. It's everybody from the individual that wakes up today wanting to start a small landscape company, and as small or not influential as they may think that they are, those are the very people who then have grown, and there's stories like that every day just in Houston where that's where that start initiated, and they become a massive construction powerhouse. And then anything that goes into oil and gas, the engines that are the size of houses, and then the marine industry. I mean, every bit of that, like you said, it is what that infrastructure is the foundation, and it's big and small customers. We all share a lot of the same problems, and we don't think about that all the time, no matter how big or small. So it definitely has, each area has their unique challenges based on their size, but they're all pretty consistent.
Yeah. As I said in the intro, I'm a fourth generation road builder. So I turned 18 and went to work for my dad on a grade crew and, got my start in the field and was very blessed to have some great leaders along the way and kind of shaping my career path and giving me some opportunities to advance my career. Let's back it up for a quick second. Where did you start in the industry and how did you get involved?
It was actually technically with Caterpillar in computers.
Okay.
And so that's what really started within Caterpillar. But it wasn't really until I was able to move to a different capacity of Caterpillar and work directly with the dealers that I really think that passion started to take flight. And being able to then interact with the customers, the operators, and the technicians, really the boots on the ground, that is just something struck right there, and it was a lot. It made things a lot more fun and also challenging at the same time.
Yeah, really good. It's interesting when I think about dirt world businesses, whether it's a dealership or an OEM or a contractor or a supplier. The thing I talk to parents and counselors and students about all the time is this is a big business. It's a big industry, and whether you want to be in the field or whether you want to be in the office, we're running businesses. And so we need, HR and IT and engineering. And, there's a lot of different ways to get involved. So it's really cool to hear that you had, a love for IT and that was kind of your entry point. But it sounds like you've been able to kind of climb your way through to now, leading as the marketing GM at Mustang Cat.
Yeah, it's. I mean, the way I think a lot of times we think about it, even at Caterpillar, but at Mustang, you can have, just like you said, multiple careers within the same organization that serves all of these customers. And so, I mean, it really is an opportunity to be able to take whatever skill set you might either have a passion for or that best suits you, and I think you can adapt. And I think the nice thing about that too is that if something really isn't working, you can pretty quickly pivot and find exactly what really strikes a chord and match that passion with really the throughput, right, and the results. So which oftentimes still it gravitates around serving our customers and helping them make money. It really is that's where rubber meets the road.
Yeah, that's incredible. Okay, so I have this crazy question, and I'm sure for every dealer across the country, it's probably a little different answer based on the type of work and what's going on in their environment, whatnot. But at Mustang, what machine do you sell the most of?
Oh man, that's a great. So it's interesting. I think that has shifted in the last 20 years, right? Because it was dozers. I think you could go right to dozers, and that was the way, obviously, and that was the bread and butter for Caterpillar. I think excavators really started to then capture because of the some of the flexibility that you would have with them on various job sites. But now it's really moved from a volume play to the small equipment. So CTLs, which are basically a mini dozer, they and then the mini and micro excavators, they have really taken over, and you see that both from what customers are buying and what they're renting. Even the weekend warriors. I mean, how many times do I wish I could have had a little micro hex? I mean, these smaller excavators can fit through a door frame, so it helps. Really, it helps the companies, the smaller construction companies, helps them be more efficient. In many ways, it helps them be safer. I mean, it really is an incredible opportunity to see that shift, and how the small equipment has really taken off across the board.
Yeah, that's really intriguing. Speaking along those lines, I'm curious. I'm thinking about, okay, there's some listeners out there. Maybe they're new to the dirt world. They're considering the dirt world, but talking to a dealer here, like, how do I, like, I've never bought a dozer. Like, do you just walk in and set up an account? Do you do it online? Like, what's the process for even working with, a dealership?
Yeah, that's a great question, Jason. I mean, really, I don't know that we could have said this as little as 5 years ago, but today, for the most part, depending on how big the equipment that you're looking at, it's really as simple and in some ways simpler than buying a car. And what we're fortunate to have as a cat dealer is a financial institution in Cat Financial to be able to help give a whole host of financing opportunities and options for our customers. You can just outright buy and finance. You can lease equipment, and then you can also rental purchase option (RPO) purchase option these machines. And then you just can't forget the idea that you can rent the machines as well. So, a tagline we use a lot of times is try before you buy. And so, what better way than to put your butt right in the seat of a machine, and find out if that's going to match what you need it for, but then also make sure that it's affordable for what you hopefully use it for with your business or on your farm. So, having a lot of different options for customers who have little to no past credit is really something that we like to be able to provide, because we know it's challenging for some of them, especially when they're starting up a small business.
All right. Again, I'm just asking questions out of curiosity because I really don't know. But so does every client get, an inside or an outside sales rep? Is there a service person? Like if they've made a purchase, is there a person that's, identified for the account? How does that even work?
Yeah, so it varies a lot of times, based on the size of the company, and so think about. We'll start with larger companies. They're oftentimes going to have a dedicated outside sales rep. They'll have a product support rep to help with all their parts and service and preventative maintenance, keeping up with their equipment. They'll have a dedicated rental rep as well. And that is not to have complexity around how we take care of our customers. But oftentimes in the larger companies, each one of those individuals are different within a company. So it makes sense to have specific people within those verticals to contact them. The smaller customers, oftentimes it's one or two people. The simpler, the better, because just like with larger, it's about building a relationship and having trust with them. Because if we're not servicing them and helping them ultimately make money, then we're likely not going to get repeat business. And so most of the time, those smaller customers will have a sales rep, and it can be an inside sales rep sometimes, but they can still come right to their job site. And they'll likely have a product support rep as well to help maintain the machines, keep it up to spec, and really answer those more detailed technical questions.
Yeah, that's good. So I said in the beginning, privately held. So I'm assuming family run. What's the history and the background behind Mustang?
Oh man, it's the history's rich. Last year in 2000, 22, yeah, it's 23. Mustang celebrated the 70th year. So they were founded in 1952, and it's just an incredible opportunity to be able to. Mustang's a pretty good sized company, but to be family owned and so tight knit. I mean, the relationships are strong, just as strong within Mustang as they are with our customers. And I think that really helps. I think it's exemplary of how we want to treat our customers, and it starts here, right? That's the foundation, the root of it being a small family-owned company. Man, it really is. It's a blessing. It really is.
So, just observing across the country, when I think of cat dealers, one of the things that I hear a lot is I need to hire technicians and lots. So I'm just kind of curious, from a recruiting standpoint, where is Mustang at when it comes to the technician side of things, and what are you guys looking for in terms of hiring?
Well, I mean, that's one in and of itself, Jason, that we could probably talk for hours, right? Because it's a struggle, it's a challenge we have, but it's a systemic issue across the industry, right?
Hmm.
It's all of our customers dealing with this. It's even our competitors, right? I mean, everyone is having this challenge. It's not unique to just Mustang or Caterpillar. And to answer the question, it's there's not one answer, right? We've got to start with in junior high and high school and introducing that. Number one, you can make a lot of money as a technician because that's what everybody wants to do. They want to grow up and make a lot of money, and so that letting them know that there is a massive opportunity as you grow and become a more senior level technician, you can make a lot of money. But then understanding how we can educate them, because this industry and the machines, just like cars, right? Tesla and self-driving and all the options that are happening, man, it is a rabbit's pace that is happening. It's each generation. So we've got to try to stay on top of that. So that presents a challenge. And then as we onboard and offboard, people leave and have attrition, it's all of those are their own set of unique challenges. And then all of that together, where we've got to have a safe working environment. And again, everybody home safe every day, right? There's so many quotes that we have and utilize just within Mustang, but our customers do as well. And it's another problem that or challenge that we've got to stay on top of. And I think some of the technology is helping with that. But if our technicians and our people are not properly educated and they understand their roles and responsibilities, there are some other challenges that come along with that.
Yeah, 100%. Read a study recently talking about, the construction industry numbers are pretty staggering, with, by 2031, 40% of the industry is going to retire. And, this year alone, we need to bring in 560,000 new people. And so I think one thing that I'm starting to hear from you and others is, we're really working hard at creating a career for people where they can, have an early start, come in, there's learning and growing, there's training programs, there's a career path, there's mentorship, there's leadership, there's guidance, that we are showing them that story of this is a great place to earn not only great money, but, it's a great place to be because we've got great people and we're building an environment that people want to be. And so it's really encouraging and exciting to hear you talking about you guys being aggressive and progressive on that front, and creating those opportunities. It's a perfect segue for us to kind of jump into leadership and maybe talking a little bit about that. So I'll just ask kind of a softball question, just your ideas around what qualities do you believe make a great leader?
Wow. Well, first of all, at least how I was kind of raised and came through, I think it's always really exemplary of not just asking and expecting things out of people, but also partaking in that, right? It's being a part of that and not just expecting that everyone else do those roles and do it for me type of thing, right? But really, time and time again, I think, and it's a common thing because it is so important. It's communication, right? Very, very clearly communicating what's expected. I think a lot of times we get so wrapped up in what the results are or what they should be and not really communicating that A to the people of what's expected of them, but then also how to get from A to Z. And I mean, onboarding is one of many areas where I think we all have those challenges, and it's hard because those a lot of times those expectations change. I mean, just like each day does. But I think that that's where a lot of times we try to make sure that we stay ahead of it, and sometimes we don't. So just communicating exactly what's expected of everyone. And a lot of times I think we worry that people they're going to get upset about it, or that whatever reason. There's a whole host of reasons that it doesn't happen. But at the end of the time, at the end of the day, that brings a lot of clarity to what each person is supposed to have. And I, as a leader, need to map that out and clearly communicate to them what's expected every day.
Yeah, that's really, really good. Lead by example and communications, two big keys for great leadership. All right, next one. Can you describe a leader who has positively impacted your career, and what was it that inspired you from them?
Yeah, so I mean, I think that so along with being the leader I'm thinking of specifically, right? I mean, led by example, was really clear on communicating. But the part that really inspired me, and I didn't mention it before, but I will now, was we were given enough leeway to be able to come up with your own ideas, and think about new ways to be able to get you the results, or um, solve problems and help out with these challenges. And especially with the younger generation that's coming through, I mean, maybe directly or indirectly, but they're challenging all of us with, hey, we've been doing it this way for so long. And that's good in some ways, but it's also really bad in some ways. And so, and it's motivating to be able to think, hey, I can come up with my own way, or I can execute this model in a different manner. Maybe it's more efficient. That's really motivating, and it really helped me along the path to be able to have that leeway to go do that.
That's incredible. I've always been a big believer in the fact that everybody's a leader, and it's not a title that you have to be assigned. It's you show up and observe, understand what's going on. Work as a team, figure things. Sometimes you need to step in. Sometimes you need to let others take lead, etc. How does that work within Mustang? Within your organization, are you guys building leaders at every level in every department? What does that look like for you guys from a leadership development standpoint?
It is without a doubt one of the foundational elements at Mustang. So, as part of our governing process and governance group, we have several, four, five, six, it kind of varies, CSFs, critical success factors. And one of those is servant leadership. And it is without a doubt. And I say that because, once again, I think that sometimes, kind of like AI or hit words and phrases, it's easy to say, we believe in, or servant leadership is important, but to actually embody that, to really say that this is literally one of the things that is critical for us to be successful in the future. And so, I guess for lack of better terms, we've put our money where our mouth is and said this has to happen. And we have various events. We have awards, Servant Leader of the Year awards. We engage the employees in different capacities through that process. So once again, it's one thing if all the leaders and executives said it and said it's important, but no, we engage everybody in that whole process. And we develop, we assign mentors for new people, and it is really, and it's a culture change that has really taken off within the company. So anyway,
Yeah,
it is a foundational element for us. Yeah.
that's incredible. I hear the term servant leadership and it lights me up because by nature, I like to make people happy. And so when I think of servant leadership, I think of serving others.
Yep.
And, the Home Depot really built, their values around servant leadership and have the upside down pyramid where, when you're at the top, you're really at the bottom, and your job is to kind of try to hold everybody up and to serve them well and to find out what challenges do they have and what roadblocks do they have and how can I help remove them and help others be successful. And the success of your team is what really drives the success of your organization. But something that you said that just really, got me that I'm really interested in is that word recognition. If you want repeat behavior, if you want people to, to do things like, giving that recognition to me is super cool. So talk to me a little bit about that recognition that you were talking about.
Yeah. It has it's multiple channels and multiple ways that can happen, right? Because not everybody wants it the same way. And so there's at the big level, there's yearly awards and recognition that happens. That those were things that are probably more traditional. But then we have within the company, we have our own system, which really is very social media esque, and it's a way on a day to day basis for each person to be able to recognize their colleagues, their bosses. I mean, anybody within the company can recognize another person, and it can be as simple as "Thank you for helping me out." Or they can actually have a gift, which is some points within the company, to more recognize what they've done. And it is something, once again, that came from this servant leadership CSF, the team that was assigned to that. And they thought of this, and it really went to within a year, it came from idea to execution. And it really is, it's across the company, and it's wonderful to see it. There's oftentimes people who I don't even know, and they'll recognize another person. And it's just incredible to see that because it stays out there kind of like a Facebook post, and how the board stays open. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun, and it's incredible to see.
That's amazing. At BuildWit, we have Slack. We're a remote workforce, and we use Slack as a communication tool. We've got all of these different channels, and kind of helps us keep organized and really communicate at a really fast pace. Sometimes I can't keep up, to be honest with you. Uh, but we have one channel that's called the props channel. And I can tell you that it just lights my day up when I see a props come out, and anybody can type anything in there. And it's that given that recognition. But the thing I will say, just vulnerably, is, I've received some props in there before, and the feeling that it gives me, I mean, like, I like it lit me up. And I'm not going to lie to you. Like, I even read it to my wife and to my children. I was like, guys, like, check this out. I got some props today, and here's what it said. And it just, we're all working so hard, and it just made me feel so good. And it's something I could do a better job of, is giving more props. Is
Agreed.
there's stuff, if I would slow down and pause and just observe, there's something great that's happening every single day, and people deserve that. But we live in such a fast paced world, and we've got so much to get done and whatnot, that I think that props and recognition are something that can help us make the dirt world a better place. And so really excited to hear that you guys are doing that. And it's something that I'm glad we're talking about, because that's what starts the movement. Is
Yep.
people can't change what they don't know. And so that's part of why we're doing this podcast series, is to find out from the best of the best, like what's working, what's not working, and whatnot. So really, really excited to hear you talk about that.
Yeah, it's. I mean, Jason, the BuildWith team is a large part of this. I mean, every time we talk, I can sense and feel the excitement, and I mean that there's something that is viral about that. I mean, you read that all the time. Something as simple as a smile, right? How that can change somebody's impact, both from just an engaging conversation to just really putting you in a better mood. And like you said, it's definitely something I need to do more of as well, and need to put the time to it. especially when you have these channels and resources that can make it easy. So it's almost like, yeah, I don't really have an excuse not to do it,
Yeah.
even though I find a way to do that, right? So, but yeah, it's that impact, those small things can make a very large impact for a lot of people sometimes.
Kind of makes me think about another thing we have in place at Buildwood is every Friday our ELT team, executive leadership team, and our OLT operational leadership team, we fill out a kind of a weekly debrief, and it's really around wins and then lessons learned, and it seems really simple because it is, but it forces you to slow down and actually write down what took place that week. And, I can typically rip through my wins pretty quickly. Like I look at the calendar, I see all the people I've talked to, the things I got going on, the checklist. It's like, those are really good. But, it's those lessons learned in leadership and communications that are so, like I got to slow down and think like, all right, what did I do wrong this week? What could I do better? What are some things that I learned, along the way? And so as I think about that, I'm thinking about like, what are some of the most important lessons that you've learned as a leader, there at Mustang? Is there anything that kind of sticks out that if we're going to change leadership, if we're going to change workforce development, we're going to change the industry, like what's something that you would, share as a lesson learned that you would want others to start practicing?
Man, I mean, it is a very simple one, but being engaging with every person as much as you can when you come in contact with them. I mean, something so little, and just shaking a hand and acknowledging someone, which I know after COVID and we're in a very digital age. Um, I mean, meeting with you guys at Con Expo physically, that could have been done virtually, right? I mean, those things I know are very simple, but I've had people say that it's very meaningful. Just the fact that you shook hands and introduced yourself to somebody. Um, I know it's a very small thing, but it's something I think is overlooked so many times, that it just is. It does go a long way with a lot of people. That and then truly mentoring. I think it's also something that it's a catchphrase that we like to talk about. And I once again I can tell you I fall short of this, but really and truly mentoring people, and because that goes both ways. When I've actually taken the time to do that, I think I've actually learned more from the individuals I was supposed to be mentoring. I became the mentee, right? And there's a lot of fulfillment in doing that, and I think that that's something that I've learned it, even though I haven't really done it, and I need to do more of it.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. To me, it's the simple check in, like on their whole self. So many times, again, we get back to that fast paced environment. It's like, hey, did you get this done? When really it should be, hey, how's your family?
Exactly.
How's things going? How are you doing? And it's those small little check ins that can just really change everything. I've heard you talk about safety so many times. I think if we would do check ins with people more often, we would really clear the cash register upstairs in making sure that people are heard and seen, and you could really get a good understanding if they've got a lot going on in their life, worried about things, a lot going on. That's a moment as a leader that we can say, hey, Johnny or Susan has got a lot going on, and today we need to, as a team, we need to put a little extra care around that individual. But unless we take the time out to really check in, we could miss that opportunity.
And those check-ins, kind of like that mental clearing, like you were talking about, right? So the results that we want to be, hey, let's check in on results. Well, those other little things, the check-ins can impact the results, right? So,
Yeah.
or positively or negatively. I completely agree. I mean, there's a lot of things that impact each individual's results, other than, hey, how did we do and did we get something done?
Yeah, I want to talk about mentoring just for a quick sec. You brought it up. I think sometimes people are waiting for a license to mentor. And, it doesn't require a certificate or a degree or a class. To me, mentoring is being in relationship, with someone and just sitting down like we're doing right now, having conversation and being able to be vulnerable and transparent and ask, great questions and, kind of go back and forth. I'll also say that, when you're mentoring, one of the things that I've learned is as you're looking for a mentor, you should always try to find somebody 10 years older and
Hmm.
10 years younger,
Yep.
as well as maybe a peer or a colleague that's of your same age, because there's a lot of wisdom in that 30-year span, or that 20-year span, of 10 years older and 10 years younger, that you should consider. So, just really want to follow up on what you were saying. Like, you don't have to have a degree to mentor, and would really encourage people to a mentor others, but b the only way that you're going to get a mentor, I found, is to ask.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
It
So
ain't
if
just gonna show. It won't just show up on your lap, right? I mean, it just doesn't.
Exactly. So, and it's not real difficult. It's, hey, Cory, I respect you. I appreciate you. I've observed you. You're somebody that I want to spend more time with. I'm really looking for a mentor. Is that something that you could carve out once a week, every other bi-weekly, once a month, to kind of work with me and help coach me? And it's just that simple.
That's
It's
right.
it's just having that conversation. So, I think as we're talking about leadership and workforce development, what we're talking about here, I mean, that's it. It's
That's right.
it's the simple things. It's, yeah, we can definitely sign up for classes and we can bring in coaches and we can do training and we can do all these things, but there's lots of different ways that we can really build a culture around leadership and workforce development that are going to really make an impact on our industry.
I agree, and I think that another one that I think of through a lot of our discussions for either what I've learned or as a manager or any of these, one thing that keeps coming to me and thinking of that is you've also got to be willing in a good way, but to step outside your comfort zone. I think that there's all kinds of catchphrases and memes and things about what comfort is and how it can be a deterrent both professionally and personally for progress. And that's, I mean, I'm comfortable with me and it's okay, and I may not want to ask Jason something personal, right? I mean, we've got to break those barriers, and I mean that both, like I said, both personally and professionally. That is exactly what makes progress. And I mean, if we want to stay comfortable, I guess that's okay. But like you said, we also can't expect to be having a lot of progress if we don't want to get out that comfort zone.
In the beginning, we were talking a little bit about emotional intelligence and self awareness. I think that as a great leader, it's important to know your people. And what I mean by that is, what is their learning style? Who are they and what do they care to learn about? What do they want to learn about? What is their vision? What is their growth? Whether do they like to read? Do they like podcasts? Do they listen to books? Do they prefer group settings? I mean, there's so many different ways to learn and grow as an individual that, as a great leader, it requires great questions and
Yeah.
really getting to know your people. So, just kind of curious your thoughts around the different styles and whatnot that are out there and available. What are you thinking about that?
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, I mean, the most basic thing, you got two ears and one mouth, right? Ask questions, listen. I think that is the most fundamental thing to start with. I think that even for people who may be a little uncomfortable for those scenarios, there's templates that can be helped provide to help address and initiate those discussions, especially for people who maybe are a little more apprehensive. But it's just getting down to the root of it's you're building a relationship with people. You're trying to find out what makes them tick. I think about back at CAT, they would have us build, um, 5, 10, and 15-year plans. And a lot of times I really questioned and wondered why, because they really would never come to fruition. But then I now understand that gives you a small glimpse of what the aspirations are of the person you're getting that from, right? I mean, do you want to be an executive leader, or would you rather go in a completely different direction of your career? And that can initiate. It may not be the answers, but at a bare minimum, it can initiate those discussions. And I mean, again, I agree. That goes back to how they want to be recognized. Not everybody wants to be publicly recognized, and going up and a small pat on the back and shaking their hand and saying you really did well, and I appreciate everything that you did. I think every one of those you can get out of conversations with people, but you got to have those conversations because you won't get that information if you don't.
Yeah, I read one time that the only way to overcome fear is with action.
Yep.
And it seems like a lot of the stuff that's out there, like people want to try new things. They want to lean into leadership. They want to lean into mentoring. They want to lean into doing a podcast or teaching a class or doing these different things. And just really would encourage everybody that's out there listening that if you've got a desire or a passion in your heart, for helping and for serving, and for teaching or for coaching or whatever it is that you want to do, like that, it's just success is on the other side of action. And so, would really encourage people to take action.
I think technology a lot of times it can be scary, Jason. But I also think it can be a beautiful thing in these instances because within a couple of minutes, what probably back in my day would have taken a couple of days, if not weeks, to research how to, set up a podcast, right?
Yeah,
You can probably get that in about 10 or 15 minutes today. And I mean, that's a beautiful thing. There's some beast to technology sometimes, but I think if it's used in the right way, it's something that can really catapult people into new things.
absolutely. Well, speaking of scary, we decided at the beginning of the year that we were going to unite the industry and host the first Dirt World Summit in Houston, Texas. And, it just so happens to be that, Mustang Cat's right there in Houston. You were one of my early calls. So glad that you answered the phone and said, hey, we're coming to your hometown. We're doing this thing where we're uniting the industry and we want to try to make the dirt world a better place. And we're going to talk about leadership and workforce development. We're going to bring in some world-class speakers. Man, would love to have your support. And, I'm just really grateful that you just, from the first minute that I told you what we were doing, it wasn't, I don't know, it was, yes, we're in. Like, I believe in this. So talk to me a little bit about what you're excited about the most at the summit, whether it's a speaker, whether it's the agenda, whether it's connecting with people, whether it's peers, whatever it is. Like, what are you most excited about for the Ariat Dirt World Summit?
Well, I mean, first, Jason, you might say you're grateful that I took your call, but I'm grateful that you actually called. I mean, to have the opportunity to even be thought of for such a great event, it really is something that's humbling. I mean, we're very excited just to be a part of what this summit's going to represent. Even though I know there's a lot of unknowns, but I don't really care because I know just from what you represent and the other team members that I've met, I know it's going to be great.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard not to rally behind y'all and the cause. And to think about one item, I mean, are you kidding me? I can't do that. I mean, you're going to bring people from all over the country, and I mean, they're world class speakers. You're addressing topics that are just like we talked about before. They're it's a systemic, and again, we say challenges, opportunities. They're opportunities that we've got to address. And if we
Absolutely.
don't, this industry is not going to continue to be prosperous, or at least as prosperous as it could be. And so I'm really excited. Number one, because it's in our backyard. But the biggest thing is to learn from everybody else. I know that, again, you've been generous enough to ask us to be a part of a podcast, but boy, I'm telling you, it's from years of learning what not to do, and I still do a lot of wrong every day. And so to be able to hear what other challenges people have and how they've tackled them, we're really excited about that. I think the one area that's a little bit specific to Houston, but I do believe that it's becoming a bigger problem. We have a massive Latino Hispanic demographic here, and to be able to have to hit that challenge on for safety and training, but then have it bilingual. I mean, that right there represents a challenge that, quite honestly, we're still trying to figure out.
Yeah.
And that's one of many challenges, and we've got to do it, because if we don't, again, we suffer the consequences of not really putting our arms around this and making sure that we're all moving in the right direction. So anyway, that's one that
Yeah.
I'd love to hear from other people, but man, I can't wait to learn and hear about everything that you guys got going on.
That's fun. I'll give a shameless plug for BuildWit training. We do have bilingual Spanish subtitles. So if you're looking for training and Spanish subtitles, check out BuildWit training.
There you go.
Well, hey, I can't thank you enough for your time. What an incredible conversation this was. This is just the beginning. Very excited to see you in Houston. I'm sure that we're going to have a relationship for many years to come. But this wraps up another Ariat Dirt World Summit Series podcast. We hope you enjoyed the conversation and gained valuable leadership and workforce development insights. Visit dirtworld.com to learn more about it. Thanks for joining us. Until next time, keep leading in the dirt world, building leaders, projects, and communities. Thanks for your time, Cory.
Thank you.